Good morning, fantasy. Welcome to episode 2 of The Return. Kosh and I are back, and I was going to say better than ever, but I don't know. Good as usual. I don't know.
Yeah,
But today we're going to be
doing
talking
well. How are you?
something. I'm good. How are you?
Good. Yeah, I'm good.
Good. Yeah, Akash has been binge watching Breaking Bad, and I don't think he's seen it before. And he's texting me like all throughout the day about how crazy it is, and I've been
I
enjoying that.
know. I gotta watch the last episode, like the finale.
Oh, you're on the last episode?
Yeah, I was gonna watch it right now, but I had to record
Oh, also,
the
okay,
podcast.
Breaking Bad spoiler warning in case you haven't watched Breaking Bad yet still.
Yeah,
I'm going to talk about spoilers here in a second. But okay, did you believe me? I remember a few weeks ago or like a week ago, you texted me about like who dies in the show, and you said something about Hank. You're like, dude, Hank has to die. I was like, nah, he doesn't die, or something like that. Like I'm
I don't
pretty sure.
remember you telling me.
I remember telling you something along the lines of like, no, Hank doesn't die, or like I made it seem like Hank doesn't die, and then you texted me earlier. It's like, bro,
Really?
Hank died. That's crazy.
Really? Did I? I don't remember texting you about that.
No, I
Was it
swear
an
you did. You
iMessage? Because I
texted
couldn't
me.
find it.
Let me pull it up. You texted me a while ago talking about how much you were liking Breaking Bad or something about like everyone's
I'll see it.
dying and all this stuff. And then you, hold on, let me find it. I said
I
you
only
asked something about
see
Hank
my
dying.
text today where I'm like, Hank's dead.
Yeah. That happened. That happened.
Yeah,
Obviously, I'm saying like, well,
I don't
okay.
see
I'm,
the
I'm
one from
looking
a
back
while
at our
ago.
text now, and I just see one that says from you, "I am morbiously obese." Not really though. At 1:45 a.m.
I know. That's funny though. That's funny.
That
The
is funny.
Morbius sweep jokes are so funny.
Dude, I love the Morbius jokes. Isn't it hilarious that they re-released the movie and it only did like 80,000 in sales?
It flopped. I know. They
Like
got
Sony keeps
they
thinking
got
like, "Oh
memes
my
so
god, we're
hard.
actually popular now. Everyone loves us," but it's actually just
How do you I like they're
horrific.
so tone deaf. You see people making fun of your movie, making these memes, and they're like, okay, let's re-release it. I don't know. Maybe they were hoping some people would hate watch it, but it doesn't seem to have worked.
Yeah, I don't think it worked either. I can't find the text now. It's so annoying,
I'll just have to take your word for it.
bro. But anyway, what do you think about Hank's death? Do you think it was cool?
Yeah, I had no idea that's where the Walter falling down meme came from.
Yeah. Oh, that's what we were talking about. That's what we were talking about. You said that was the conversation. You said that we still have to see the Walter falling down meme. Someone else has to die, and I was like, nah.
I didn't say that. No.
No. That's definitely what happened. We were talking
No,
about the
I don't
Walter
remember
falling
saying that.
down meme, and someone had to die, or like some. Oh no, you said that he was gonna die, and that's why you thought it was gonna happen. You thought that Walt was gonna die, and that's when he like fell down, and that's what the meme was from.
Right, yeah. Because I know he dies. I'll just have to get to that.
Yeah.
But everyone knows he dies.
Yeah, everyone knows that. Okay, anyways, let's get on to the show. So today we're going to be talking about fantasy wide receivers. We already talked about it a little bit in the last episode, where I like Traylon Burks and Drake London and all this stuff, and I think that rookies have upside. But we're going to dive a little bit deeper into it today and look at some previous historic trends of rookie wide receivers since I believe 2018, but also go further back than that. Construct an argument, probably both ways, for why they could not be very good, why they could be very good. And we'll just take it away. Akash, why don't you set up some stats from previous years and just seeing the hit rates on rookie wide receivers?
Yeah, so I tweeted yesterday. I might have to pull it up. But we were talking about this before and I wanted to go actually find it. So pretty sure this is just out of rookie wide receivers who played 8+ games, drafted in round 1. But if you look
Round 1 of the
through,
NFL draft, not fantasy football drafts.
yes. So if you look through, let's find it. Man, I tweet a lot.
We do be tweeting a lot. We are chronically online.
Yeah, so since 2000, first round rookie wide receivers, so first round of the NFL draft, average 17% target share and 9.5 points per game. Not a huge role, not a lot of production. Since 2010, those numbers take a huge leap up to 18% target share and 10.9 points per game.
I think the actual points per game increase is pretty interesting, though, to me.
It is interesting. It's small, but
I mean, a
it's
full
still not
point's
into
not
fantasy
nothing.
relevant territory. And this isn't filtering for prospect levels. Like some players are just like
Sure.
consensus better prospects that get drafted higher in rookie
Yeah, like
drafts.
John Ross, for example. Like nobody was drafting that guy in fantasy and thinking that he had upside. Like no one was doing that.
Right. And then he played like less than 8 games. So he
Yeah, I
didn't
remember. I
even
think it
he
was
didn't
his
even fall
rookie
into the
year.
filter that I put, but so that means that his numbers would bring it down. So
I remember I'm a Steelers fan. I remember giving Bengals fans a ton of crap for the John Ross pick at the time. And I remember I think it was like his first game he ever played in or something. It was like his first NFL touch. It was like a jet sweep or like a toss or something. And he ran and got clobbered and he fumbled. And like that was it. I'm pretty sure he got injured after that. And like that was
Didn't he
I
have?
don't know
Did
if
he
it
have
was his
negative
season.
points?
What'd you say?
Didn't he get like negative points on
Yeah,
that?
he did. He got negative fantasy points.
And then was out for the season. So did he have negative points per game?
He might have, honestly. He really might have.
That's
Maybe
hilarious.
does that count? Wait, no, that's not your sample size. I forgot. I had to play at least 8 games for your sample. But
Right.
it
So
is
he
pretty
played
fun.
3 games and had negative 1.8 fantasy points.
What a dog.
So
That's worth the
negative
number 9
point
overall pick in
6
my
points per
eyes, especially
game.
when you had Patrick Mahomes getting picked 1 pick after that. So that was
Jesus.
pretty crazy.
1 rush attempt, 12 yards, fumble, 2 targets, 0 catches. What a rookie
Yep, there
season,
we go.
dude.
That's what it was. It was like a jet sweep or something, and he actually looked pretty
Awful.
good. Like he looked fast, obviously. Got
But
like
then he
10
he wrote
yards,
him
and then
out
he
for
got
the year.
cracked
That's
and
so tough.
fumbled.
He was picked 1 pick before Patrick Mahomes, which is just hilarious. They
Yeah, it's
got
my
Burrow,
favorite
so
thing.
I think they're doing okay, but
Yeah,
that
they're doing
pick
all
is
right,
awful.
but I'll still give him crap for that.
Truly, yeah. So I remember that you saying, okay, what if so you said rookie wide receivers have been doing better. What happens if we decrease the scope and look at like 2014 to now, or I think someone else says 2018 to now, and I think
Mhm.
um I'll indulge it because you asked, but I think you're inviting yourself to selection bias and also small sample bias because you're saying, okay, since this is the year I'm pointing at it and saying this is when we saw some more rookies be um, productive. So what if we split it there? And that's inviting some bias into the sample, and you're also really decreasing it, only looking at a handful of years, which also invites more bias. So
Sure.
over the last what 3 years, no 4 years since 2018, we have 14 rookie wide receivers who were drafted in the first round and played more than 8 games. And those 14 players, only 4 of them were top 24 wide receivers in points per game. And they averaged 11.8 points per game. And that's with Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase in the sample.
Mhm.
So it's not exactly very fantasy relevant. There's been some hits like Waddle, Ayuk, are the 2 who are top 24 and not top 12. So it's not that they don't have upside. It's just that for the most part, you're looking at top 24 production, and we only have 4 guys over the last almost 2 decades who were top 12, and that's Jefferson,
Akash,
Chase,
I
OBJ,
actually
and Michael Thomas. If you go back far enough, you get Anquan Bolden, but by and large, you're looking at
legend.
top 24 ceiling, and you're ranking Drake and Burks and like Wilson inside the top
Wilson's at
24 or just
26, but
outside.
yes,
I know that
London's at
Wilson's at
24 and
26.
Burks is at 21.
Right, yeah. Wilson's just outside of top 24, but when you're putting them there, you're putting them really close to their ceiling without considering the floor, because there's a floor of these guys. They, not to say that they could be total bust, but maybe they average 8 to 10 points per game, and that's a pretty low floor for someone that you drafted top 24. So
Sure. I think Wilson's the riskiest this year because I think Elijah Moore will eat a lot of his lunch. And Zach Wilson's still pretty unpredictable. But I do feel really good about Drake London, and I feel really good about Traylon Burks as well. Mostly because we see the Tennessee Titans trading a third round pick in Traylon Burks for AJ Brown, or sorry, the opposite. They traded AJ Brown away for Traylon Burks, a first round pick and a third round pick. And obviously they drafted Traylon Burks to try to, play the AJ Brown role in the offense. I would like to say, a lot of NFL analysts actually gave the AJ Brown comp over to Traylon Burks, which is kind of interesting. That's personally not the comp that I would give Traylon Burks. But it was a comp a lot of others gave Traylon Burks. I think he's going to slot into that role year one. Robert Woods is going to start the season off a little slow coming off his ACL injury. I think he'll pick it up on the back half of the year. But to start the season, week one on, this offense does not have a lot of weapons outside of Derrick Henry. So I think we see Traylon Burks get a sizable workload that should make him pretty fantasy relevant. He should see a pretty large target share, and I'm hoping that he has nice touchdown upside. He has the big play upside. If you watch his film as a prospect, he's known to break a game open every once in a while with extremely fast breakaway runs. So hoping he can do that this year. And then for London, it's pretty much Kyle Pitts, Drake London, and a bunch of Walmart employees for the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, Kosh, you're a Falcons fan. Is that correct?
Yeah, sadly, but you're
Yeah, I
right.
mean, like, who is your wide receiver too? Is it Auden Tate? Like, who is it?
Some
Zach
unholy
is?
amalgamation of Auden Tate, Brian Edwards, Olamide Zaccheaus,
Oh no,
Amir
Brian Edwards is
Bird.
there. There you go.
I wouldn't put it past Brian Edwards to fall below Auden Tate. I mean, it's really that mid-off meme where it's like,
Yo,
come on.
these women have
I
a
don't
mid
really
off.
care who wins the wide receiver 2 job. You're right that it is just Drake and Pitts. Patterson, I think, is wide receiver 2,
That's true.
who lines
Patterson
up the
does have a
running back
role.
most of the time. But really,
It,
I think that I don't know. I think Drake could be fantasy relevant, but it's not going to be because it's only him and Pitts in the offense. It's going to be because
sure.
he's good. And I do think he's good, but a lot of times we see rookie wide receivers be good players, just not productive for fantasy to the extent that you expect them to be.
Sure. And that's a valid expectation, but I think it would be a lot worse. Like for last season, for example, we saw just Kyle Pitts in Atlanta with a bunch of nobodies, but this year there's two. And I think that it'll make things easier for both of them to, see a little weaker coverage, see a little less defensive focus. It'd be easier if they were both wide receivers to really say that's like guaranteed. Tight end and wide receiver is a little bit different. You can kind of scheme things a different way, but I think London and Pitts will both get a sizable workload in this offense, especially Pitts. But I do think that London, one of the reasons I like London a lot is like he's a red zone threat, right? He has a big 6'4" frame, and I think he has the potential to score a lot of touchdowns this year. Like if I fast forwarded to this time next year and London had 11 touchdowns, it would surprise me, but it wouldn't
That would
shock
surprise
me.
me.
It would
That would
surprise
be
me, but it wouldn't shock me because
that would shock me.
he's a red zone threat. He's a fantastic contested catch guy. It wouldn't
How
surprise me
many
if, like, in the red
rookies have
zone,
had
he comes down with a lot
11
of touchdowns.
touchdowns over the last few years? Odell, Chase, maybe.
I think
Can't think of
Claypool.
any. Yeah, Claypool
I think
did.
Claypool
If
had
you
like
include
10.
rushing. He had 9 receiving and 2 rushing.
Yeah, Claypool had a really good rookie year. Like,
Or something like that.
honestly, like, I'm not expecting London to have the hugest. Is that even a word? I don't think so. I'm not expecting to have like a huge rookie year. I'm not expecting like top 10 from London. But
Yeah.
I think he could easily be, like playing at his ceiling. I think he could reach like wide receiver, I don't know, 18. And if I'm drafting
I
him,
would
like,
say
what's
that's
his
an
age?
appropriate ceiling.
What do you say?
I would say, yeah, that's an appropriate ceiling.
Sure.
I can see that. It's possible. It's a high end range of outcomes, but
Mhm.
certainly possible. We've seen rookies do that over the last few years, and he is a good prospect. So he's my wide receiver 1 in the class, and it's no hate to him. It's
Same.
just trying to be. I'm trying to be more realistic about my expectations for these rookies.
Yeah,
Like,
that's fine. But again, like to
he
what
could
we
have
were
like
discussing
800
earlier.
yards and 12 points per game, and his dynasty stock would go up, like just like it has for players who have done that, like last year, where Devonta Smith did that and his ADP went up. But I don't think that that's not going to be very fantasy relevant. I mean, it maybe be a wide receiver 3 or 4 like Smith was, but I would say that wide receiver 2 ceiling is not going to be like a guarantee to hit like the rankings you have.
Sure. And, Akash, another thing that I want to say about my rankings of having Wilson, London, and Burks all within 5 ranks of each other from 21 to 26 this isn't really how rankings work, but I think you'll understand what I'm saying. It's like
I
I
get it.
have those
You're
3
not saying
guys.
you would draft him there. You draft him at ADP, but yeah, I think your expectations are still high.
No. I don't think you understand exactly what I'm saying. Like I have them all there because
Yeah.
like I'm comfortable drafting them at their ADP, and I feel like they have really high ceilings, and I'm very confident that one of those 3 guys is gonna pop. So like I have them all ranked at, like, I think like right. I wouldn't say in the middle of the range of outcomes because their floors are low. but
Mhm.
I think that's like I have them ranked to like 75 to 80% of their ceiling because I feel like at least two of them will play to their ADP, and I feel like at least one of them will be top 20. And so like I really feel strongly about that. So grouping those guys there does not feel bad to me. And I also think it's interesting. Like I want to bring up some other guys who have contributed over the years, like who haven't been like these round one like rookie wideouts who have, flashed towards the end. Like last year, Amon-Ra St. Brown went on a tear to win people championships. He was free in fantasy drafts.
Right.
I also, Akash, I want to look into statistics. Like we pulled up their ADP before the show started with these rookie wide receivers. Like by rounds, like I wonder of the guys since like 2018 who were drafted in like rounds, let's say like round 9 or higher, like how did they finish compared to like the other round 1 random wide receivers from the entire sample? Because I feel like that could give a better sense of like wide receivers that the fantasy community were pretty interested in and how they performed compared to their ADP versus just any round 1 wide receiver, like the Jalen Ragers, the John Rosses, guys like that. And I was gonna say the Henry Ruggses of the world but Ruggs' ADP actually was decently high to my surprise. But yeah, I because that's the thing too. I was talking with Akash about before we went live is like I think another side of the process that people kind of underrate or overlook sometimes with rookie wide receivers. Like for example, when Akash said like I don't know what the sample size was. I think 14 guys since 2018 that were round 1 wide receivers, and like 4 of them were top 24. It's like okay, so there were 14 round 1 wide receivers. 4 of them hit top 24,
Of
but
those who
I'd argue
played
probably only
8
like
games.
8 of them were like good enough to the point where I would consider drafting them with like a high ceiling. And like if the hit rate's like 50%, I'm comfortable with that because I feel like a lot of these rookie wide receivers have a chance to pop, especially compared to their ADP. And getting these guys oftentimes as your wide receiver 3 or even wide receiver 4 if you're doing like a zero RB build. I really like that. Like I distinctly remember one of my drafts last year. I started off the draft going with like 2 or 3 running backs and maybe like another tight end. And then I waited on wide receiver to the middle rounds. And then I'm back to back at the turn. Um, I think I got a wide receiver earlier too. So I already had my wide receiver 1, and then I added in Jamar and Devonta Smith as my wide receiver 2 and 3, and that worked out great. I'm pretty sure I won that league. Jamar provided all the upside I could have ever wanted and more at his ADP last season. And then Smith was okay. I'm pretty sure I threw him in my flex every once in a while, but he didn't really pan out. But guess who I threw in instead? Amon-Ra St. Brown. And that's another reason why I'm comfortable taking risks on these, quote unquote higher end rookie wide receivers is because even if they don't pan out, one of the beautiful things about redraft fantasy football is there's plenty of contributors that come out of nowhere every season. Last year, a la Amon-Ra St. Brown, Deebo Samuel, kind of. Not actually, not really. He was drafted. Cordero Patterson, though. Every year there's a guy, Elijah Mitchell, who comes out of nowhere and produces consistently for fantasy. So if I can take some swings for the fences and miss on a guy every once in a while, I'm comfortable doing that because I'm shooting for upside. So
Yeah, I get it. One thing I was gonna say is that I think the fantasy community is more so catching on to um what you're saying about about drafting rookies early because of their ceiling.
mhm.
So just looking at since 2018, we are talking about this before the show. We had DJ Moore and Calvin Ridley as the first round wide receivers. And in redraft ADP, I believe this is Fantasy Football Calculator ADP. They were drafted in redraft rounds 11 and 12.
Mhm.
And neither were top 24 in points per game, but I think Ridley was like 26 or something. So he did all right for himself. And then the next year, N'Keal Harry was drafted in round 14. I think he might have gotten hurt. I don't know when he got hurt off the top of my head, but he was on
Round
IR.
14 doesn't seem right for him. I feel like he would have gone higher if he was
Some
healthy.
hype with Tom Brady, so might have
Yeah.
gone higher if it wasn't for that injury. But Marquise Brown went undrafted
Not a
in
surprise. No one wanted to touch the
for his rookie
Ravens.
year. Yeah, because his quarterback was a running back at that point. Ayuk went round 12 this next year. Ruggs went 9. Jefferson went 11. Rager 10. And Judy 10. And
That is
Lamb 8.
surprising that Henry Ruggs in ADP their rookie season went higher than Jefferson because I wasn't really an analyst at the time. I was like casually getting into things like like really heavily just like not on Twitter. It's like as far as analysis goes and doing rankings and all that kind of stuff. And I thought Jefferson was going to way outperform Ruggs for a fantasy football perspective before his rookie season.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to say I was like all in on Justin Jefferson or say I was like right and knew he was going to be like the second coming. But, I did not think that Henry Ruggs was going to have that big of a year for fantasy. I hated all the Tyreek Hill comps that were coming out constantly. And I thought that Justin Jefferson made a lot of sense because they just shipped out Stephon Diggs to Buffalo. Adam Thielen was still there. They drafted Justin Jefferson to be the Stephon Diggs role of that offense. And Akash, listen, I don't want to make the comp, but I'm going to because what I just said clicked in my brain. Listen,
Okay.
Treylon Burks, okay? Hear me out.
Yeah.
The Vikings had Adam Thielen. They traded away Stephon Diggs to Buffalo. They drafted Justin Jefferson to replace Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs has a great rookie year. This year, Titans trade away A.J. Brown. They draft Treylon Burks to replace him. I'm just saying. I don't know.
So you say like you expect I think what you said was you expect Burks to be like some percentage of AJ Brown.
Yeah, that was off the top of my head. But it's like I'm hoping for like I don't know 85% of AJ Brown as far
now
as
would
like,
that be career AJ Brown or rookie AJ Brown?
like previous AJ Brown, like recent AJ Brown. Like if I could get like 80 to 85% like peak AJ Brown out of Treylon Burks, I'd be ecstatic.
That would make you ecstatic, but I think his peak season was like 17-ish points per game, and like your percentage of that would be like 13, 14 points per game. That's a wide receiver too. But as a rookie, AJ Brown was like I want to say in the 30s in points per game. Like so even with like his rookie season was really efficient, had people a lot of people fading him going into year 2 because it was too efficient, and then his efficiency dropped. But that's just the point.
I just want to say too about Burks is just like and AJ Brown. I just think.
So what I was saying before is
You cut out
Lamb was drafted round 8 in redraft ADP. Then we saw Justin Jefferson season, and everyone's like, "Holy shit, rookie wide receivers go burr!" Yeah, and then people started doing that where Jamar Chase and Devonta Smith have the highest redraft ADP amongst first round wide receivers over the last few years. And I would imagine going back before that too, because no one's been on rookie wide receivers like they have since Chase and Jefferson popped off. And they were drafted around 6 and 7. That's the rounds that London and Burks are going right now. So I really think people are starting to catch on to what you're saying. And your upside plays that used to be going in rounds 9, 10, 11, now going in rounds 6, 7. I think that your upside is kind of getting priced out because you're drafting them closer to where the expectation is.
Yeah, and that's fine. But I also just want to say, like, for Treylon Burks, for example, he's my wide receiver 21. His actual ADP is like way lower than that.
Yeah,
and
his
that's
ADP
why I
is
think
like
the value
30.
actually lies. Like a core, like I understand that at the end of the day, like he may finish as like wide receiver 21, but if I'm drafting him as like wide receiver 30, I'd be thrilled with that. And that's why I like the rookie wide receivers so much. And I feel like a lot of times when I say that I had these guys at like 21, 24, 26, etc., people think I'm crazy because I feel like that in their mind, they think I'm drafting them ahead of guys who are going at like wide receiver 21, 22, 23, 24. And that's not going to be the case because of the ADP game. And the ADP game I'm referring to, of course, is like when you're in the draft, you're trying to see if the guy's going to make it back to you after you make your next draft pick. Just trying to play the game of how the draft's going to fall. And that's why I like these rookie wide receivers so much, because in my rankings, I have them higher than their ADP to the point where I feel like I can sit on them longer and they'll come back to me and I can, get a nice value on draft day that'll ultimately, hopefully they perform to where I have them ranked or hopefully a little bit better. And that's why I like them so much, is because I can get them as my third wide receiver off the board. And I think they have wide receiver 2, high-end wide receiver 2 upside, maybe even wide receiver 1 upside. And if I'm getting those guys as my wide receiver wide receiver 3, who could be like my flex every week, like, I don't know. I really like that.
So what would you like? So, which do you think would be your upside play? Would you draft Drake London, Treylon Burks, Garrett Wilson in the 6th round, or would you draft Michael Thomas, Adam Thielen, DeAndre Hopkins in the 6th round? Now, Hopkins a bit muddled with the suspension, but the idea remains that I think that the upside lies with the veterans who aren't sexy, and you kind of have to translate yourself away from that dynasty mindset of young equals sexy. So
Sure. No, I totally
the
understand
veterans,
the
they might not be
dynasty
sexy,
mindset.
but they have an unbelievable track record where Michael Thomas has consistently finished as a top 5 wide receiver, even so high as top 1. No, there's concerns with the injury, but that's why the price is lower. Thielen has concerns with his age, which is why the price is lower, but he's been nothing but a wide receiver 1 over the past few years. DeAndre Hopkins had a bit of a down year last year, but the bounce back is possible. Because he's DeAndre friggin' Hopkins, and I'll never give up on him until he's out of the league.
No, and I agree with you on that, but the suspension is enough to me in a tiebreaker to take
Yeah,
Traylon Burks or Drake London.
but
And
the
then
idea,
also, like you mentioned with Michael Thomas,
yeah,
I don't like him very much. I've been working at sixscore.com, the home of Pro Football Doc, quick plug. I write articles for them now. And we wrote one the other day about Michael Thomas's injury. It's pretty concerning, honestly.
it is concerning, but
Let me just read it off real quick. Michael
okay.
Thomas injury update. I'm just gonna read this off the article here. So, according to Nick Underhill of NewOrleansFootball.com, Thomas did not participate at OTAs on Wednesday. The 29-year-old did not play last season after undergoing surgery in June to repair his damaged right ankle. That was the climax of a hectic year for Thomas, who broke off communication with the Saints during the offseason and later suffered a setback in November that derailed any hope of him returning to the field. The Sports Injury Central doc said earlier this month that they weren't impressed by videos of Thomas running, specifically concerned with his apparent laboring on the right side. Thomas quarterback, however, was okay. Blah, 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 blah about Jameis Winston. Okay, but so basically, I don't know. I just don't like Michael Thomas. I think he could get off to a slower start than most expect in the season. I think like he has upside. I like him, but again, it's unhealthy veterans. Like
Undeniable upside. So
I think
in the
Thielen,
6th round, floor doesn't matter. You shouldn't care about floor at all, because if your 6th round pick misses, who gives a fuck? You have a lot of other picks and you have the waiver wire. But if your 6th round pick hits a top 5 ceiling, that's a league winner, right?
sure,
You should be looking for a league winner. They are, well, as the name implies, they win you your leagues.
they win you league. But
Right.
Akash,
So
I'll
you should
argue.
just be searching for ceiling, and you're saying that the rookies, you're drafting them because they have upside, but we have guys going around them who also have, like, the rookies have a lower floor because they're unproven, and these veterans have a lower floor because of extraneous circumstances lowering their ADP. But undeniably, the upside lies with the veterans who have proven to be wide receiver 1s. And also, there's plenty of guys in that range, like Amon-Ra St. Brown, Elijah Moore, who are pretty much more so confirmed #good in the NFL because of their rookie season production.
Sure.
You know, we project a leap going into year 2, and typically year 2 players have a larger role than year 1 players, mostly because they're involved more because they have an extra year of experience, and some of them are confirmed good, like Elijah Moore, Amon-Ra St. Brown, compared to Garrett Wilson, for example, who
I definitely would be
isn't.
drafting the veterans like Adam Thielen, Michael Thomas, maybe even DeAndre Hopkins over like Garrett Wilson. But I think I would rather have Burks in London over all of those guys. Because I think their floor is pretty high as far as rookies goes, because I think their situations are really good for opportunity. The only argument against London I have really is, Mariota could not given the passing volume that we kind of like to see, but I think they're going to be playing from behind a lot. I think they're going to have to throw the ball. And I think that London just de facto is going to get a lot of targets because he's good and he's going to be the wide receiver 1. And then Burks, it's Robert Woods in him. I mean, he's going to have to see a lot of work. Woods is not the sexy weapon there in Tennessee. He's just not. Like he'll get the
He's reliable.
He'll get the job done for you. He'll get open. He'll get underneath targets. But Traylon Burks is going to need to be the splash play guy. And I think that they're going to give him a lot of opportunities for those. And I think that he's going to have a consistent enough role to have the floor and have the splash play opportunities to have the ceiling. And I really like that.
Yeah, it's tough because I do like them as prospects, but to say that they have a guaranteed role,
I think they do, man.
impressive.
Just look at the teams. Look at the
What if
capital.
they're bad, though?
Look at the depth charts. Like,
I like them, but what if they're bad? Like N'Keal Harry going into his rookie year was,
these guys are not
one. He's
N'Keal
going to
Harry.
play with Tom Brady, and then he was bad.
These guys are not. Let me just, okay. There are a lot of factors behind the scenes with N'Keal Harry that we didn't really come into, question with or, calculate. Bill Belichick, one, hates rookies. He just doesn't like him. He doesn't use them. Two, he is not as good as a prospect as Drake London or Treylon Burks. He's just not. I think Treylon Burks, you could argue, but Drake London is head and shoulders better than both of those guys. Burks and what's his face? N'Keal Harry. Also, you're looking at draft capital invested. The Patriots decided to use the last pick in the first round on Harry. We're looking at a team trading away their star player for Treylon Burks in a third, and saying, okay, hey, this guy's going to be replacing our star player for the Titans. And then for the Atlanta Falcons, they use a top 10 pick on Drake London, first wide receiver taken in the draft. Love it. I love Drake London, and I think that he is the best wide receiver in this draft. He's polished. He's well-rounded. He has great size. He's the only wide receiver there besides Cordell Patterson, and Kyle Pitts is also a weapon, obviously. But he's slotted in for a lot of year one work. And as long as he converts those targets with decent efficiency, I think that we're going to see a good year for London in year one.
Yeah, I think they could be good. I hope they have a role.
What do you not like about the situation that you think concerns you?
What'd you say?
Like, what concerns you about their situations? Let's just talk strictly about Burks and London, because those are the guys I love. I like Wilson, but his situation's kind of shaky. Zach Wilson's whatever, really tough schedule. Elijah Moore scares me a little, but London and Burks, they're pretty clean in their situations, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's tough. It's maybe passing volume. They could be low with Mariota, and then Tennessee's been low, but passing volume's kind of hard to predict year to year. You don't really know what team's going to do, especially Falcons with a new quarterback and Titans with Derrick Henry's injury. There's some uncertainty there. Their passing volume, it could be bad. Also, the QB play Mariota is confirmed not good. That could definitely hurt. But I think the biggest part to me isn't the situation at all. I think it's just the way that rookies are used. And yeah, they can have a role and they can be good, but it's not that they're going to be extremely relevant for fantasy. That's just really what I'm looking for. And throughout history, throughout the last 2 decades or decade or 4 years, however you want to split it, you're not seeing a lot of productive rookies as rookies. We see a lot of guys who show good, who show out well in metrics or have good games, stuff to point to and say like, okay, that's good. He was wide receiver like 30 something, and then maybe he's a top 24 wide receiver next year, but the wide receiver 30 something is still what he produced as a rookie. And so it's just really tough. And you want to be looking for ceiling. And I ultimately don't think that the ceiling play lies with the rookies, because typically you don't see rookies have a role that converts into a very high ceiling outside of the extremely rare cases of Jefferson and Chase. I think your upside play lies with some of those veterans, or a year or two leap from some other guys, or even betting on some really good offenses. Like I don't know.
Could you give me some names at ADP around those veterans, just around those rookies, just to round things off, and we'll go one by one and just say who we prefer. Like, let's say London / Burks or these veterans.
Like Brandon Cooks, Michael Thomas.
I think I prefer Cooks over London, but not Burks.
I would take Cooks over both. Michael Thomas, I would take over both.
I would take the rookies over Thomas.
Ceiling play, Elijah Moore.
I would take the rookies over both. Sorry, rookies over Moore.
Amon-Ra St. Brown, Devonta Smith.
You can't put Amon-Ra against me, but I'll take the rookies over Amon-Ra. The situation's murky.
Adam Thielen, DeAndre Hopkins, Brandon Ayuk. And even going down, like
I want the rookies over all those guys.
Like Tyler Lockett going at wide receiver 44 when he's been a wide receiver.
Lockett at wide receiver 44 is criminal. I'm definitely going to be swooping up some Lockett at price, but the rookies compared to Lockett straight up on paper, I'm taking the rookies all day.
Yeah, he has I think he was a wide receiver 2 last season, wide receiver 1 the year before.
Yep.
Off the top of my head, I don't know about points per game, but I would imagine it's similar. I don't know. That kind of track record is just really hard to pass up on. Maybe his QB.
But he also had a Hall of Fame quarterback throwing to him. He's going to have Drew Lock, so.
Maybe his QB sucks, drops him off a little bit, but I don't know. Maybe they get Baker or Jimmy, and that's just serviceable enough to get him into relevance, because he is a really good player. And it's I believe Adam Harstead who just constantly says life finds a way. If you're a good player, you're gonna score points. That's
I like that
basically how it
analogy.
is.
I do agree with it. At the end of the day, I do. But I think quarterback does come into play a bit with Tyler Lockett,
Should.
especially. I think over the years we've
I'm
seen a
not gonna
lot of these.
pretend that Gino is comparable to Russ.
Gino's not bad. He really is.
He's pretty bad.
He's not bad. He's not.
He's
That bad.
really bad.
He's not that bad. He's not that bad. He's not that bad.
He's
As far as
horrible.
NFL backup quarterbacks go, he's pretty good. Starter,
I don't know. But if he's gonna be a starter, he's gonna be a bad one.
yeah, he will be a bad
Oh,
starter.
he's pretty
but
bad.
As far as backups go, he's very good. Yo,
Yeah.
Austin, what's up, bro? Rookies are good based on the coach, scheme, and team. Some teams give the rookies a lot of opportunity early. Other teams make them wait and learn and pay their dues. Environment makes a huge difference. I agree with that, Austin, and that's why I like Burks in London this year, is because I think
To his point, yes, rookies do get better as the season goes on.
that is also another
So
thing.
maybe
for
you
sure.
buy low on them in week 8 if you're not doing best ball where you're not allowed to trade.
Yeah,
Like
that's true.
if you can see rookies, if you can stash rookies on your bench that you maybe found on the waiver wire, like an Amon-Ra St. Brown last year.
Just keep talking
That's-
about Amon-Ra St. Brown last year. Gosh, he's my boy, man. He's my boy.
That's a ceiling play. That's okay. Maybe Wan'Dale Robinson. I get him.
Dude, I think that's probably like my
That's where you
best,
want to
like,
target the rookies. You want to target the David Bells, Wan'Dale Robinsons. You can take upsides on maybe some prospects who aren't even that great, like Jalen Tolbert, Alec Pierce, because then
I
if
like
they have a
Jalen
role,
Tolbert.
then if they have a role, you can see production for cheap. Then you're going to get usable weeks. It's not high of a percentage chance of happening as some of the better prospects, but that's where their opportunity cost is so cheap that the upside is good.
Mm-hmm. Alec Pierce, favorite deep rookie sleeper for sure.
It's tough.
All right,
Akash,
let's end it. What do you think your best take as an analyst is? And I'm asking the question because I think that the whole Amon-Ra St. Brown saga is probably my best run of correctness. That or I was wrong. Okay, I was wrong with the Burrow greater than Herbert take, but I was very right about his breakout. But
he did
I
break
think
out.
Amon-Ra
Yeah,
is
that's
probably
true.
my best stuff.
My best takes? That's tough. I
Hollywood,
don't normally
maybe?
have a lot of good takes. No, I'm just kidding. I have off the
I
top
think
of my
Hollywood
head.
might be your best stuff.
What do you say?
I think Hollywood might be your best, honestly.
I was out on Hollywood before last year, so
Whoa,
we'll see
hang
how it
on. What do you
pans out.
mean? Well, but this year, this
Okay,
past
Deontay
season.
Johnson. That was who I was in on.
Okay, Deontay's good.
Deontay was just targets are so earned, and he earns a lot of targets, so just draft him. I don't know. And he was a top 8 wide receiver. I'm like, told you, drops don't matter. I don't care. Fuck you, basically.
Yeah.
Everyone was adding me,
on that.
saying like Deontay drops in. How can you like this guy? He can't even catch a football. I'm like, he must be doing something right to have 144 targets in his second year.
For real. It's gonna be interesting to see how he adapts to the new quarterback this year, but I don't really think it's gonna matter, obviously. So
right. I mean, the thing about Deontay Johnson, I don't give a fuck who's gonna throw him the ball. They're gonna throw him the ball a lot. His efficiency could be worse with Pickett / Trubisky, but it's not like Big Ben was an amazing, efficient quarterback.
He was
in
really
his final days in Pittsburgh.
Really,
now maybe
really
the passing volume goes down with Ben, but without Ben. But Steelers are, I don't know. Last year they were pretty smart to do. If you're gonna do something badly, do it a lot, because passing a lot is better than not passing a lot. If you're gonna throw for like 5 yards per attempt, just throw it a bunch, and you'll be able to move the ball downfield sometimes.
Yeah, that's what a lot of like commentators said about the Steelers over the year, was like they run through the air a little bit. Like they don't really care if they have a good first down run, because they'll do like, I don't know, a 3-yard screen pass or something, and be like, okay, that's our first down run.
Would you rather have your running back be inefficient or your quarterback be inefficient?
I honestly think it'd be really interesting and cautious to see.
The answer is always going to be quarterback, because unless you have truly god awful quarterback play, which they could have, your passing game is always going to be more efficient, and so teams should just always pass. I don't know.
I was just about to say, I think it'd be really interesting when you're in the NFL,
pass
like
as much as you can.
Yeah, for a game or something in the NFL, to see an offensive coordinator say, you know what, fuck it, we're gonna go 5 wide every play this entire game, and just like see what happens. I mean, like 5 wide with a ton of motions and like in and out of the backfield and stuff could be really interesting. I don't think it's probably worth it, because you're getting double high safety the entire game, but it'd be really interesting
actually.
anyways, that'll do it for today's episode, guys. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back again on Tuesday with another episode. New episodes every Tuesday and Thursday. You know what? Have a great weekend, and we will see you again on Tuesday. Akasha, bye.
Bye.